Guys, it's Gruff. I'm just gonna mess around with Musket a little tonight, do some territory rep grind. Uh, I'm using OBS for the first time tonight, so this like really weird looking layout for me and stuff. Before I start, I just want to put that up there. Look, if you gotta swallow some pride, just dial a phone number. If you're suffering, if you're dealing with shit, not talking to somebody about it, just let it out. There's people that want to hear that shit somewhere, I'm sure. I want to hear some fucked up stuff that happened compares. Tonight I'm going to try to keep it light. The last two streams I did, I touched on some of the attacks we took, just dealing with shit while deployed. Tonight I'm just going to talk about some of the bullshit we did while deployed and some of the like crazy stuff that went down. Just kind of as it comes to my head, I was trying to think about what to talk about to not talk about bad stuff tonight, but hopefully this is streaming like it should be, and this is way different than that last one I was using, but oh well. So yeah, you pass time in some weird ass ways when you're in another country. When we got there, I didn't have my other mechanic yet. It was just me and the medic that were pretty much like already buddied up from Bragg. When we finally got the third mechanic, well, the second mechanic, the third one of us, we became like the blame it on them squad. I mean, it was us a lot of the time. Oh, the fucking world. It was us most of the time. We caused a lot of chaos. Most of the time we were just playing PlayStation 2, and I had a Game Boy Advance. I think it was Pokemon Ruby. Me and one of the sergeants just battle Pokemon for hours on end. Like, when shit goes slow, shit would go real slow. Oh fuck, that's not good. We had this over irrational fear of camel spiders while we were there. Like, they hyped the shit out of these things when we got in country, and yeah, they were big. Like, a camel spider, it's not a joking spider, and if you don't like spiders, they're like top tier terrible spiders. I remember one night in one of the little wooden huts we were sleeping in, one of the sergeants wakes up just like shrieking and screaming. There's all kinds of banging and shit going on in his little AO, and he's having a nightmare that it's a camel spider, but he's actually stomping his Kevlar helmet, like trying to stomp his helmet to death on the ground. Yeah, with the PlayStation, so we had a copy of The Sims, and it was this little like screen. The PS2 was a hookup out there, because it was like it would plug into the back of the PlayStation. It was like a shit little screen, like maybe 4-inch or something, but we could all just huddle around it on a little like 220 to 110 converter. So on The Sims, you could create different houses. Like, you could log in as one account, but you could actually create different little houses and run little, I guess, your own families or whatever. We had set up where each one of us kind of took turns playing. The whole purpose was to get Bella Goth to leave her husband and move into our house. And then when we would go on con ops, we would just like screw with the other people's houses. And it turns out like the way to win that version of The Sims wasn't to hold like a normal job or anything. Like, we tried, because the three of us and then other people throwing in their ideas and stuff, different job approaches and all that. The best way to make money was to just make a bunch of gnomes. It was like one skill or something you could do, just keep making gnomes. And we had this whole like sweatshop gnome thing going on in one of the houses. We played the hell out of some Dynasty Warriors, because you could just like kind of squat up and just beat the hell out of waves and waves of things. Always go to the escape of video games. Skeletons. God, it's crazy to just try to like clear your head from not talking about the shit side of a place. So there's a investigation group in the military that kind of go in. They're like the undercover police, I guess, for the military. I hope this thing is actually streaming right now. They showed up to our compound, and we're in the middle of nowhere, Afghanistan. Like, there is no reason for these guys to show up. So everyone's kind of like starts sweating when these dudes show up. You start wondering if it's like your stupid contraband. Like, say I had like a couple of beers or something. Like, nah, we had a little bit of hash floating around, and there's some pot seeds and stuff accidentally showed up on the site. Just nothing too serious. We only had 4 women, and I would say like less than 50 guys, but roughly maybe 40 to 50 people total on our PRT. And then one of them was like an older, some kind of officer. She was like linguist stuff. I know she was real cool. She hooked me up with a Pashto like cassette tapes to learn some of the local language stuff. But the other lady was, she was attached to actual military. She was Army or National Guard or something. She was there with us, like not as a different country's, attachment. I think she was like Russian or German woman, and a little bit older, and just kind of kept to herself. She was the one they were there for, and the story finally came out. So when you look at a porn site through a government network, like, I guess they track that real quick, and it turns out when you're running your own porn site, they really frown upon that, and nobody had a clue that this woman was just like doing her own side hustle. But yeah, she got snatched up out of our PRT. Like, they didn't want that making any kind of media or publication, I guess. So we were down to like 3 women of Gardes. I feel bad for those women. We had a co-ed bathroom, and like everyone, like all of our guys respected them. I know one of the locals accidentally walked in one time while they were having their, like, we would have shower times set off where the guys stay out of the bathroom area altogether during like certain hours of the night or whatever. But other than that, it was like 3 stalls and just what you would expect in any bathroom. It was disgusting, and you'd be in there trying to brush your teeth, and you got like random strangers in there just doing their thing. The food didn't agree with anyone there. Like, bathroom was never a pretty place to be. Like, way worse than working some fast food gig here and just disgusting people on this side. So yeah, when CID rolled in, scared the hell out of everyone, and then snatched out our porn star. I know I talked about in one of the earlier videos, after you fix a Humvee, doing the test drive on it, and ended up doing some sledding. Just, we had some snow and slush and bullshit and horrible cold weather there for what I was expecting to be like a desert vacation. Come on, dude. Just die already. Kabul was crazy to visit. So it was between going to Bagram, where you pretty much land when you get in country, and then where we were at down in Gardez, Kabul is like, I mean, it's the capital, but it was where we would go to do shopping and stuff in between. If you had to go to Bagram, you definitely stopped in Kabul and did like a quick run through the bazaar. I got so many, like, I would just randomly send friends home like envelopes filled with random little gemstones and stuff, because they would mine it directly there, and some people would cut it, and stuff you'd get in the States for like, I don't know how to rate gems, a hell of a lot more than like $1 or $2 for some of these cut precious gems. We had this little, I don't know, he'd be like a grade schooler kid, but Mikey, and we would hire this kid when we would roll into Kabul to be our bodyguard. The merchants there, I guess, it's not like, so over here, Western culture, people kind of keep to themselves more or less. Over there, everybody kind of touches you and come, my friend. Like, they'll grab your shirt a little and like pull you over to their booth. Like, hey, come look at my stuff. Like, they are really touchy in that country, and it's not like anything meaning beyond. It's just the way they are. But this little kid, Mikey, we would hire him for like $5 or $10 for the day. He'd walk with us and just like push people away. He'd try to start fights with people. He would just get in between us and the people like trying to touch us, and just be like, back off, and give us like our personal space. It's like, hell yeah, for like a couple of bucks, have this kid just run around screaming at the locals. And the kid was like animated too. He was a wild little kid. Probably had the whole setup there. Yeah, like 99% of the kids there were great. I would go to the PX on the way, like on the Bagram trips, and then if we were driving back anytime, I would try to have like a case of M&Ms or something. Cause, damn, I don't know. I just remember being like 5 or 6 years myself, and just getting a candy bar at the store or something with my dad, and just thinking like, these kids aren't have access to any ease shit. I don't know, what is our like comforts of being lazy Americans? Can't order a pizza when you want to over there. Got that meat hanging up in the street though. So we should have done a lot more exercise on our own while we were in Afghanistan. We really didn't do any. I mean, it's probably the stress keeping all our weight down. Other than the hiking, walking everywhere, your basic, I guess, everyday living, walking around with a heavy-ass flak vest on. We weren't doing, like, our PT, so, like, push-ups, sit-ups, the 2-mile run. They got it in their heads way late into the deployment. Like, oh, we're going to do a PT test, even though nobody has been doing PT out here. Like, we were just totally bullshitting. Even some random stranger. So the push-ups and sit-ups, that's easy. Like, anybody can just knock out the bare minimum for the Army if you needed to. But the 2-mile run, and we're at 2,000 feet elevation. The air is super thin. It's cold. I don't run in the cold anyway. My chest seizes up. I'm crap. Me, the medic, and the other mechanic, we're dead last. Everyone's already failed this PT test, though. Like, nobody is doing good at this moment, but we're totally dead last. And we're doing this 2-mile run. It's like a mile down an airstrip and then a mile back, but it's this airstrip out in the middle of the damn mountains that we've already been shot at before. It's not like this is a safe, cool place to be running at. And we're out there and our PT is just pretending like we're back home, I guess. As we're coming up to the end, and we're already like, dude, we're getting in trouble for this no matter what, because we failed so bad. My dumbass decides, like, it would be funny if we all linked up arms like Wizard of Oz style and skip over the finish line. And yeah, we absolutely, like, I convinced the medic and the mechanic, like, hell yeah, we're gonna do this. We're just gonna skip over the end there and do that little, like, slow stop skip, and they did not find that shit funny at all. Like, right after we crossed the finish line, we were straight over to getting yelled at. All right, so they pull us back in to the compound, but then one of the sergeants, who's on a profile, so this dude doesn't exercise anyway. He doesn't meet any of the military requirements to be in the military. This guy, it was hard to take anything he said seriously because, like, dude was not a soldier. Uh, he's yelling at us like, "Oh, you got enough energy to do that, but you can't pass the PT test, huh?" And he just starts going off. All right, oh, let's do push-ups. So we start doing push-ups. You know, you're gonna burn off that extra energy and all. And then it's like, all right, we're playing along. You know, it's part of the military game. You get used to it. Especially in our unit, it was stupidity all the time. Like, if a dude was having fights with his wife, he would come in and just start screaming at his squad, and they'd be doing push-ups because he got some bad news or something. That was just the way our unit was. So he's yelling at us. We're doing push-ups with loaded M16s on our back. And it just like, I don't know, after a while, the air just stopped. And like everyone, even him, we're just like, wait a minute. Like the whole, like everything of your mind starts slipping a little bit. You're angry. Someone's in your face screaming at you after you've already failed a PT test in a country you don't want to be in. You know, you've got stress from everywhere. All of a sudden, it's just like got real quiet. And he's like, "You guys take your rifles off and go stack them up over there." And we were just like, "Yeah, that's probably a good idea." We pushed one of our dudes in our tent. The flunky. He was a gun bunny that didn't make it. I don't know what the dude did that was so bad. He just couldn't hang with them maybe or whatever. He got put on permanent KP. Like, so this guy's living in our tent. He's kitchen aid. He's your, like, the scrawny runts of the litter, I guess. And we pretty much, like, he wasn't getting hazed by us, like, as a, you know, picking him out because he's the weak one. He was getting hazed by us because all of us hazed the shit out of everyone in our tent. Like, if we liked you, we hazed you even more. We had a game we would play. Whoever was standing closest to you when you finished your cigarette, they became like the thing you put your cigarette out on. I had 5 or 6 cigarette burns. I had a cigar burn on my chest, just like everybody else. So this guy's just trying to chill in his AO one day. His little tiny 4-foot personal space. He's playing some single player Halo, minding his own business, and we're popping up over like every corner of his wall. I think we had the Polaroid camera. We're just like snapping flashes at him, just peeping over the corner like, hey, like little, the hell are they? Meerkats. And it's funny as hell until he just freaks out and like stands up, actually loads around into his rifle and starts shrieking in this weird new voice we've never heard before, like, "I'm fucking sick of you guys, I can't take it, fuck you guys." And then I just like fall to the ground laughing like, oh shit, like we're gonna die and Selby's gonna be the reason we don't make it home. This dude is about to blast us. Oh. He didn't enjoy the ice fights we had either. Like, I don't know. The dude would try to jump in and he just couldn't take the heat back. Maybe that's like his squads were even more brutal than us. We were soft. Maybe that's why they just abandoned him into our tent. So yeah, contraband in Afghanistan, that was easier than it should have been to get a hold of. It took a minute, like before you really start knowing, like I guess what to ask for or who has what, or like nobody has anything. First of all, when you're there, like nobody will confess to, oh, I absolutely have some stuff I'm not allowed to have here in country. I think alcohol might not even have been like supposed to be in the country for their reasoning, you know. I remember we stopped into some weird little compound on the way back one day, and some like tiny little compound, and they were American forces, but they weren't like regular stuff, and they just loaded this flat of beer into the back of the Humvee. Like, easily 48 cans, like it's massive. Maybe it was a 24. I don't know. 24. Yeah, 24 cans between 4 people. Um, so we're just like, oh hell yeah, dudes! And it was some German beer I'd never heard of before, but it was like really good stuff. Yeah, the stuff you can't get here. And then Cuban cigars just like popped out of everywhere over there. And this was when we were still doing the American couldn't trade for Cuban cigar stuff over here. Like, I don't know, whatever that thing was. So yeah, we're rolling back to the PRT one day, and we've got this flat of beer in the back. And right as we're getting to the gate, the sergeant in the front's like, man, all these beers have to be like invisible before we get into the gate. So like everybody just start packing. And it was like every single cargo pocket, every like the breast pockets, and we're all just kind of like clinking back to the AO, like, all right, we're just going to go unload now. We'll be back in a minute. Just like clink, 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 walking with like all these beers in every single one of our pockets. Stop and do the tribute beers. I left a couple under our tent babysitters, our big E6 sergeant. Left a couple under his pillow. He was always in the kitchen or like asleep in his little AO or just like watching movies. I maybe saw that dude in our like common area 4 times in the whole deployment. Once he got his tent flap up, he would pop his head up like, all right guys, just don't kill one another. Clean up your piss bottles. You know, that kind of stuff. And every now and then, if the cooks got some weird random, since they saw everyone that came through the compound, they always got crazy gifts. Our original cook that left sometime halfway through the deployment with some other unit, he made friends with one of their major generals or like country leaders or something. The guy ended up trading the cook's hat for like some pistola. It was some old little handgun, and it was like one of the coolest little old guns I've seen. That dude was just like, hell yeah, trade a hat for a gun over here. And I know I met some important people there, but at the time they were doing different positions, and I didn't have a clue. Like, none of that stuff meant anything to me other than like, oh, so you're like a general of some army stuff over here. I didn't realize like who these dudes actually ended up being later in the big picture. The value of money over there was wild. So that bazaar would show up, I think it was every other week or every 3 weeks maybe. And then there for a little bit it had to stop because like when things started heating up and the attacks were more frequent, we just had to like be like, all right guys, since nobody here seems to be listening, we're not going to have the bazaar. You're not going to make extra money until like things calm down. It's like crazy how things would just calm down. Money talks. So I think it was the mechanic wanted this pair of fake Oakleys. And the vendors out there, there's so much fake stuff over there. You could get movies. Like, we were watching movies that were coming out, like, that week over here in the theaters. You know, terrible copies, but we had access to some stuff. And so these fake Oakleys, this guy would not take less than $20. Like, he made this offer, $20. Mechanic's like, nah, I'm not giving you $20. Like, what the hell, dude? Like, I'll give you 10. And the guy's like, no less than 20. Like, nah. It's like, nah. You get fake Oakleys everywhere. He just drops it. He goes into the dining facility there. He grabs a bag. We had kind of just snacks laid out in the facility for kind of 24/7 stuff. You know, little potato chips, junk like that. Not the few meals we'd get. He grabs a bag of, like, Lay's. Just a little, like, you'd pay, like, a quarter for it here. And he goes out there, and the guy sees him with this little tiny bag of potato chips. And he's like, hey, trade. And he's like, what? You wouldn't take less than $20, but you're about to take this little bag of potato chips. All right. Yeah, we went in there and grabbed a few bags of potato chips after that. It was worth more than the actual cash we had. they liked American cigarettes over there, and I did like, yeah, I smoked. A few times I had tried dip. I never liked dipping, but I know that crazy rush you'd get if you don't dip, especially that initial tobacco rush. And while I'm over there, I'm just like, sure, I'm gonna try new stuff. If an opportunity presents itself in country, I'm gonna jump on it. And it was the day we were hanging over at the SF compound. Anytime we'd go over there, like crazy shit would go on. And this day they had a camel. Their one of their commanders or whatever just used some of their extra funds to hire a local to bring a camel up for, I guess, like R&R kind of entertainment. It was fun. Like they were taking pictures. They were kind of like riding it around in the front of their little kalat, just bullshitting with this camel. At one point, it turned and bit a dude. It kicked a dude in the nuts. Yeah, camels are also mean animals. So while we're there, this guy has one of the local dips, and I know they had talked about it, and they're always doing this dip, and I knew it had lime, like limestone lime, I guess, or something. I figured that would be the base for whatever this is. I just thought it was like tobacco and lime or whatever. And I put this dip in, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm just chilling over here for the day. We're hanging out. We're watching the camel. Things are great. And it was like minutes later, I'm just like, oh man, this rush is like, this is not normal. This is not tobacco. Like it felt like things started kind of spinning, like you've maybe been hungover a little nauseous. And the mechanic friend over there, he's like, hey, what's up, dude? I was like, he's like, oh, did you do one of their dips? I was like, yeah. I'm like, he's like, man, spit it out. He's like, yeah, they use opiates to hold that stuff together. Like, that's the binding material. He's like, yeah, just go sit in the AC for a little bit, man. Yeah, the time I accidentally did some heavy dip over there. So when we got birds, me and the other mechanic, after we'd been there a while and settled, we just wanted some kind of normalcy. So we sent the interpreter into town with some, like, I don't know, like $20 or something. Like, here, dude, we just want some birds. Like a couple little, like, singing birds or something. Get us something to fill the space in here, make it feel a little more like home. So he comes back later that day, and he's got a whole ass cage set up and two little, I guess they were like European finches or something. He's like, here, my friend, I bring you 2 kinds of seeds. And he gives me 2 seed bags, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Alright, well, whatever. And he leaves, I got the birds, I got these 2 bags of seeds. And I open the first bag, and I'm like, oh, it's just seeds. Open the second bag. It's like a whole, like, I would say 3/4 of a pound of pot seeds, and it's just filled with, like, shake and everything. And I was like, this man meant to bring me back some bird seed, and he just brought me back enough pot seeds to, like, start a whole entire ass farm here. I showed the other mechanic, and he's like, he was a little naive. He was like, he kind of knew what it was, but he was like, is that, are you sure? Like, where'd you get that? But he wasn't totally sure, and I took 1 seed to Doc. And Doc and I were both Florida boys, and we both had the same kind of, like, high school, smoked enough, probably, for everyone in the compound. He sees the 1 seed, he's like, dude, where'd you get that? He gets real excited. We probably spent hours just sifting our fingers through this stupid bird seed, trying to get little bits of shake off. And they sold wooden bowls. They sold all kinds of stuff, like paraphernalia over there at the bazaars. You could get a hand-carved bowl for $5. But yeah, that turns out you don't want to have any kind of paranoid effects while you're deployed in another country. Noises get real loud. Even dogs that are like 1.5 miles down the road sound like they're right outside the tent. One time we had some traded material, got a whole bottle of vodka. Me, the medic and the mechanic. Had to get rid of it real quick, disposed of that bottle, and then got the idea into our heads like, oh man, Doc should give us IVs to get us hydrated again real quick. So a really drunk medic gives really shitty IVs, and after 5 sticks, like I was like, dude, I can't take it. I'm gonna throw up if you stick me again. He missed me 5 times, and we just gave up on it. Oh man. Oh yeah, let me see here. Get out of this corner real quick. I showed in the last one, but when you get so bored that you learn to give yourself an IV, you don't get over the fear of needles, but realize you can endure a lot more than you thought every time you do something. And I guess you could just choose to live a really comfortable life too and never push your limits and just get softer until you expire. Like old fruit. We probably ate a lot more local food than we should have for our stomachs. We would send the interpreters into town like all the damn time and order, I think they were shawarma, like way later I found out. We would just call them burgers over there, and like they were not burgers. They all called them burgers, but we ate that so many nights a week. Like the cooks are in there cooking like whole ass meals and stuff. You got boiled bag food and everything, and we're just like ordering takeout from the interpreter every chance we could get. Like, dude, you going into town? You going into town? Pick us up some burgers. There was some like herb or seasoning on it that was just crazy too. Like, I still haven't found this flavor. And I experiment with a lot of foods, and I've tried to recreate some of the recipes and shit over there. It's weird. Like, I've eaten like exploratory food stuff. Just probably ate camel while I was there. We definitely ate a meat that wasn't beef, chicken, pork, fish, goat. It wasn't alligator or elk or anything that I know. It's a good chance it was either like camel or dog, because this like one of the meals we had over there was like just it did not fall under any of the meats that I experienced in the weird ass South food. Even like squirrel, something different. But yeah, then you drive through town and see like the meat actually just hanging up out in the streets and kind of not want to eat it. But they're all alive too. One of my best meals I had there though was some random con-up I was on. It was a really small patrol too. Like, I don't think we had more than 2 to 3 trucks. It may have just been like getting them to one of the embassies and chilling out for the day or something. But for whatever reason, I was in this, like, a nicer house. I don't know how you rate dirt houses. I mean, it was still made out of dirt, had dirt walls. But it just had, like, nicer tapestries, I guess. It was fancier dirt house. But that morning they brought out, it was, like, fresh-baked naan and honey. And the honey actually had, like, honeycomb and some bees still, like, trapped in it. I don't know where the hell they just went and scooped this honey from, but it was like the freshest, most basic ingredient cooked on like, you know, a old metal like hand cast stove or whatever the hell over there, stone stove, I don't know. It was cooked way different. And all the naan over there would have like the little prints from their pans they would cook it on. They're like family pans. There's too many damn people out here at night to do any farming. I don't even remember if I talked about the trash pit, but the time that I found a lithium battery, I decided to toss it into our burn pit. So our burn pit was like at least 15 feet wide, like 30 feet long. We had this massive hole where all the trash would just get dumped into. You light it on fire with some gas, some diesel, just get it going, and have a big black smoke pillar for the entire time. We would like burn corners of it even because the thing is so big. We would get bored sometimes and just light the trash pit on fire and then just jump over burning heaps of trash because there's nothing else to do. You just run around in a burning trash pit. One time I found a lithium battery and decided I'm going to throw it in the trash pit because clearly on there it says do not heat up, do not blah blah blah. And I've done aerosol cans and all that crap. Well, I put it out there and we got back to my maintenance bay and we could see the thing when that lithium battery went off. It blew like a section of the trash pit over the HESCOs. Like you're talking, it launched trash like over an 8-foot wall, and it rocked the compound. Like it was such a loud boom, and it was like within seconds, you hear me and the other mechanic's name pop up over the loudspeakers, and they're like, report to the TOC. And I'm just like, shit, like, why would they, like, right away, why would they just blame us? So we get on the radio, and the mechanic's like, hey, sergeant, the commo sergeant, he's like, hey, what's up, man? He's like, you want to tell us what the hell that was? We're like, what do you mean? He's like, this shook the whole damn compound. They said you guys are out there burning stuff. I was like, oh, hey, I might have had some aerosol cans left over from some of the spray painting we were doing. I'll try to be more careful with like the stuff I throw away. Yeah, lithium batteries are not something to be fucked with. I have, on a night that I touched in some bad stuff, that the worst incident we had there had to do with one of the coalition guys. He was on our team, but just a bad lithium battery incident. I had one of those times when life just fucks with you as far as coincidence and things like that. We didn't have a lot of people that came through our PRT like often. When they would come through, it would be like really brief as well. And we had a unit come through for maybe a day or two, just stopping. They crashed for the night and then took off the next day. And this night, this evening, whatever, I randomly sit across from this person who's not in my unit. I'm just sitting at the defect, dining facility table, eating dinner across from this guy. And I look up and I'm like, it's one of those, like, I know you. Like, where the hell do I know you from? Like, I'm skimming every moment in my life. Like, did we go to school together? Like, who the hell are you? Like, we didn't go to basic. We didn't go to AIT together. And he's, like, confused, too, because both of us are like, I know you. I don't know why I know you. Like, you are really familiar. But I also don't know you at all, kind of thing. Like, so, it turns out, in the Army, when you get done with basic and AIT, and I think mine was after Airborne, you get a month of leave, and it's like hometown recruiting, where they send you home to talk to your old friends from high school and crap, and you just dress up in your different uniforms, and the recruiters give you like tasks for the day. Go hang out at the mall and go try and get me some names and numbers today. Like stuff like that. And they want you to talk like all hyped up from basic training, like before you get into the actual Army. They just still want you all like motivated and look, I just got back, I'm all in shape. So for a month, me and this dude did hometown recruiting together. We had never met beforehand. We just happened to be like showed up at the recruiting station the same kind of time frame. We had the same kind of Christmas to middle of January leave window frame from our training ending. Me and this dude hung out for like a month, just taking turns like driving to the mall, chilling. Like still didn't like ever really know one another, but it was like for 1 month we just kind of like worked together, like recruiting, bullshitting. We'd tell our stories from high school. We never kept contact info either. We just were like, all right, cool, man. So like have fun in your military career, kind of like parting. And this dude's sitting right across from me in Afghanistan for a single night, and we're just like, when we figured it out, we were like, dude, like you're the same recruiting station for like the mall and all that. Just like, how the hell do you end up like on the opposite side of the world after that shit? Yeah, one of those, like, the number of people that could have sat across from me, the empty seat. I could have not even eaten dinner that night, as little as I ate in that defag. But yeah, that's just one of those when the matrix is checking up on you, like synchronicity, um, statistical improbabilities. So we had some weird bonding shit too. I think I talked with my wife a little bit about it, and I don't know if we had all just kind of reached like a stage of breaking, or if this is, maybe it's a normal thing. If I start listening to other people like deployment stories and stuff, but so I already had an issue with cutting in the military, and it wasn't like there's several different types of people who cut. Um, some want attention, some really want to hide it and don't want other people to know it. I almost had my stuff seen like once, and that scared the hell out of me. I did not want to get kicked out of the army. Like, top priority, I did not want to get kicked out of the army. But I was doing it because I was so physically numb. Um, my body hit this, and they had already had me on some medications and stuff, and it felt like I was just had an inch of not feeling on the outside of my body, and just I know there's like masochists and people who like it and stuff. It hurts like shit. Like, I did not enjoy ever the actual part of it. It was more the after effect, the endorphin rush. You get this crazy high from it, and when you haven't felt anything for a while, and when you're in like another country. So yeah, the medic hooked me up over there with clean scalpels, and that sounds like really weird and dark, coming like here, oh yeah, normal mindset and all, but over there, like, that's one of the coolest things. Like, he knew I wanted to stay in. He knew I didn't want to get kicked out or some dumb shit like that. But a couple people, that were close to me, we talked about stuff. I think a few of them had an issue, but one night, however it came to be, like, 5 of us just each took turns, and not mutilating, and not like, not like carving names or anything, just kind of each took turns on our own selves, like, with a blade, just dealing with the moment, dealing with how much we hated the country at the time, not all the people and stuff, just not even the country, just the whole situation of being there and away from people, and it wasn't like this big, like, oh, we're macho guys, or we're like, just doing this like emo thing. It was like this weird, everything felt so primal over there and raw, and we were just sitting around in a dark tent taking turns, like, cutting into your skin and venting some of like your rage of this country. And it was absolutely like, holy shit, if any of the command had found out about that, we'd have probably all had some weird Article 15s for, like, damaging government property, or, you could get in trouble for a sunburn in the military. I'm sure they wouldn't be too happy if you were like, why are you guys branding yourselves, or scarification. Yeah, I made the guys a tattoo gun. I was so bored there, I'd find things to do or make or build. The medic got Doc tattooed on his arm, really crappy. It might have even been like some black pen and India ink mix or something. Uh, I don't know if the commo sergeant really thought that like our PlayStation was that dusty, but we went through so many cans of duster in that tent. We had artillery guys coming over there helping us clean our PlayStation out. Burned through a lot of that canned air over there. Man, there's stuff like when you're back home and everything is normal and things sound crazy as hell, but then over there, it's like, no, hell, that sounds like a good idea. That sounds like that would fill an actual whole day. Um, Me and my mechanic changed a half shaft on a Humvee in the like middle of the night during a blizzard. For no, like we didn't have to. Even the captain came out. He was like, "What? Like guys, come on!" Like we had an ammo can filled with diesel, and we were using that as our light. We just kept this diesel burns real smooth. It's not like this flaming. It's kind of hard to light at first, but it kept a solid flame going for us. And because we were actually in a blizzard and we were out exposed, hanging by the fire right there at the half shaft, we were taking turns. It's kind of like holding our hands over the fire. One of us would do a couple turns with the wrench and then swap. We had the tools on top of the truck, and at one point they actually got like just completely snowed under. It was snowing that hard. We got that half shaft up. There was really never a good time to just be like, oh yeah, let's do it tomorrow. If you got a part in, that was like time to celebrate. Half the time I couldn't do anything over there just because we were waiting on chain supply. I learned real quick, if it was a common braking part, I would have to order like 3, because by the time it touched all the hands and got to my PRT, like I got about a third of what I'd order, and they would just, oh yeah, sorry, they needed it for such and such. And you start getting the messages down, why you need 3 of these? Well, chief, because by the time it gets to me, I'm going to have 1. They're like, oh yeah, you got a good point. And I had a little bit of overstock there by the time I left. Just had a little shelf with some extra parts that common breakdowns. So yeah, when I left my PRT, we had a nice sweet maintenance tent. It was like 20 foot by 40 foot, a big tent, probably like 20 feet tall, a bay. When I got to Gardez, it was 2 Connexes, like the back of a semi truck Connex, side by side, just wider than a Humvee. Like you could pull a Humvee into them and kind of squeeze by it on some pallets, and then had some plywood over the top of it, and had like a little lean-to kind of built at the end of it as the office. It was like, well, yeah, Shaq had been here 20 years already, and I know they just put it up within like the last 2 years. Everything's kind of like scrap, make it from scrap if you can find it. It looked like some stuff from like Fallout. Like if you played in one of the cities in Fallout, then yeah, that's how when we showed up, things looked. I did have, me and the mechanic had our own tent for a little while. But I was only an E4, and I think he was like an E3. So, we had no supervision. We were both, I was a specialist. I didn't take the sergeant. They offered, and it was not worth extra $100 a month to basically get yelled at for everything the privates under your chain of command did you. Like, these guys were dumb, and I wasn't about taking heat for the dudes going out and getting drunk every weekend, running their car into a building or something. Like, I not a 24-hour babysitter for $100 a month. So we're in our tent. Because of the shared co-ed bathroom, and this place got so damn cold, snow, slush on the ground, these guys are having to walk from their outside tent to go to the bathroom, and it's, I don't know, like, easily half a football field, 50 yards from the tent to actually when you're in there, like, going to the bathroom, and you've already gone through outside elements and like an outer wall of the closet. So you've left your tent, you've gone outside, you have to go through a bigger door in the sandcastle, walk through some of that stuff to get to the bathroom. By the end, of course, the dudes end up going to piss bottles, but our original tent, we had devised a little tube in the corner, and it was just me and the other mechanic. We had a little like hang down cloth, so we actually had this pee tube out the corner. And then they come in and they're just like trying to hit us with you can't do that. You can't do that. And we're just like, give us a reason we can't do that. Like, we did it. Look, and it works. We wake up, we walk to that corner, we piss in a tube, and we go back to sleep. No. And, we had our own little like wood burning stove in there. It was like diesel burning wood burning stove. But we had a setup. But eventually I think they were just like, we couldn't be babysat enough. We were getting away with way too much stuff in there. So they ended up putting us into the big, like, the support tent. Like, put us with the cooks and the medic, and we lost our free room. That was probably way better. We probably froze to death in that original tent. Still think it might have just been because they were mad that we had a pee tube and they didn't. Weren't smart enough to think that far. Oh. God. Yeah, our unit just turned into a bunch of damn lost boys. We were already, like, misfit children. So back home, these guys were like, it was a weird transitional stage in the military between the old gray PTs and the new, like, the black sort of nylon looking stuff. It was a lot lightweight material. The old original, like, cotton grays, for just time frame. I know they've changed the uniform so many times since then. One of our first, I guess, safety debriefings or whatever, like a Monday, it was kind of like battalion formation. Command Sergeant Major, it sticks in my brain because the line was, "Congratulations, Thunderbolts, we only had 2 DUIs this weekend." And, like, yeah, later on, it got to, like, we had a DUI, we had trouble, like, you know, they would get on to us, and it would be, of course, everyone there had drinking problems. Like, it's not even, like, I think of an alcoholic, say, in this little small town I'm in now, like your basic redneck, beer belly. No, these guys, like, a Wednesday night, you'd go out to nickel night with $20 and a group of guys and get so hammered, like, hopefully you had a designated driver. Almost every weekend, there was some alcohol poisoning at the barracks. Like, it would be a 5-mile trip down the road to Womack, but dudes would chug alcohol. I mean, that's probably the quickest stress relief for the 24-hour, like, it's a rapid deployment post. You know, shit's, and maybe other units, other military stations might be more chill. I know Fort Polk's got a depression issue because Fort Polk's boring as hell and stranded in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, brag, I think we set like some stupid records for beer sales and things like that, like world records or something. We were running one Thursday morning, and this was after one of the Nickel Night Wednesdays where a lot of us had gone out, a lot of us had drank. And Thursdays, it's just a 4-mile run. It's the same, I think it was Thursday or Friday. I think we did 12 miles a week, I think. Unless it alternated, but it was just your basic 4-mile run. And we get like 2 miles down the road, and the guy calling cadence is like, "Whoa, everybody stop. Everybody just pull over to the side of the road." And he starts like, "What in the fuck?" He's like, "It smells like a goddamn brewery in here." He's like, "Why do you guys..." We're like, "I don't know, like, none of us are drunk. We're just sweating it all out from last night." And they would constantly just be like, they would try to play along, like, "Well, we have to do something about the drinking," but then, like, what are you going to replace it with? Like, when you think about not really other alternatives for that kind of toning down the intensity, but didn't never really do us any favors. We never had, never really benefited from a whole bunch of alcohol. We confiscated about a ton of cannabis in Afghanistan, and it was in one go. The guys were just out on some random patrol or something, and a truck was rolling through, like a big up armor SUV kind of thing, dragging the ground, and they stopped, and I don't know how they even got to confiscate it, but it was like 12 to 15 big cement bag, like massive cement bags, packed so full, like bricked, packed full. It would take like two dudes to lift these things up. And it was like literally a ton of cannabis. And it sat in a Connex for like months because they were waiting for chain of command to figure out, like, what do we even do with this? Like, this, we have just these bags and bags of weed in this Connex. And like, we never got into it. It haunted us. Anytime they opened that Connex, you could smell it from like halfway across the compound. It just baked in the sun, and they finally decided we're gonna send a team out and just burn it one day in a big pile in the ground. And they sent like 4 or 5 dudes out in gas masks. I wasn't lucky enough for that detail. What the hell is it doing? But there was lots of jokes that night about everybody was eating in the defect. Everybody was standing upwind from the 1,000 pounds of marijuana burning just for no reason. Got to see fields of it over there too. Shit was crazy. Random staple crop. Come on. Neuro's really not liking this. Or OBS. Hopefully it keeps my audio. Twitch Studio 8, like 2 hours of streaming, and that was rough. Probably why I think I'm repeating things. I talked about a bunch of random shit. Probably had more fun in basic training than a lot of people. Basic training to me was just like playing as a kid again. Me and my, for a while I had a stepbrother, like in the middle school when you're like the time you want to be a boy playing soldier. I had a stepbrother and we had 10 acres. We had dug actual like full-size fighting positions out there. We had forts and stuff set up. My dad would take us to the army supply store. We were full like battle dress and everything. When we played army, we were playing army for real. So when I got to basic training, it was like, man, this is like the stuff I was doing as a kid, only like not as hard. We aren't going as hard as we were then. It was just chill. Like I loved almost every minute of basic. The stuff that was supposed to be hard, even we were doing a ruck march on the way back. I'm at South Carolina, relax in Jackson. There's muscadine grapes, scuppernongs, growing on the side of the road, and these are like southern grapes. They got big seeds in them and stuff, and it's a specific flavored grape. It's not like when you think of like a white grape or a purple grape. Me and this other dude, I think he was a Carolina boy. We're both just walking down the road, like it's a full tactical march where we're staggered. There's this girl in front of me who's like almost in tears and crying because it's just too much for her, and I'm just like walking down the road picking handfuls of grapes, popping in my mouth, walking like, alright, cool, we got like a little nature trail thing going here, and I got like all this free snacks on the side of the road, and I was like, nah, this girl's about to have a breakdown. Like, we're in totally different mindsets. Like, we're just playing right now. Basic training, this is just the game before the real stuff. Every time we'd go out, do the little war games and stuff in the army. in basic, we had one of those little high-speed guys. This dude was like ready to go on and be Airborne Ranger. He had it in his contract, and he was like, little 5.5 foot tall, like wild Hispanic guy. Like this man was nuts. Clip the corner too quick. Oh, I already got this box. Damn, lost my train of thought. Sounds like I lost music too. Oh yeah, so we're on one of these little like war game training things, and it's just us versus the other basic training like units. Like we had maybe 3 or 4 squads, I think, per battery or company, I guess, in basic, um, against other companies, just doing our little war game thing. And this dude sneaks over there into their compound and steals their saw, like the 247, just straight up gangs the shit out of their fighting position while the dude walked away. And he's running back to our compound with his full, like, things aren't light. If you ever watch Rambo and see that dude toting around, those things are, that's a beast to carry. It's definitely the gun you want when you're dropped down and in position, but that's not the gun you want to be carrying around. That's for damn sure, especially not on the foot patrol. The saw gunner is the man. Oh, the gas chamber was great. The stuff that the recruiter should have been telling me to hype me up, I think, is the stuff that they hide from a lot of people. Like, a lot of the people didn't even know we were going to go through a gas chamber in basic training. Like, I thought that was just, I thought it was one of those things people knew. Whatever, I don't know. But yeah, it's CS gas. Like, so it's crowd control gas. It gets you a little used to discomfort. I mean, it burns like hell, but it's not like it's going to kill you pain. So they take you into the gas chamber. You got the seal on your mask, and while you're in there, it's just this weird feeling of you can kind of smell it, but it doesn't. It's not affecting you yet. But almost like a really dry rub, like cayenne. How it has that? It'll like burn the inside of your nose from dryness. That's the scent I got in there. It was like, there's a specific wood too. Oh, damn it. Sandalwood. It smelled kind of like sandalwood, like just a irritant smell. And then they have you break the seal on your mask. You state your name, your social security number, like they might ask you your birthday. They want you to take a breath in. And then you put the mask back on, you reseal it, and you blow out like a full clear on it. Gets all the gas pushed through. But that hit that you took is like burning the shit out of the inside of your lungs. And it's just to mess with your head. Like, I inhaled it, I was like, oh god, it burns. But then I thought, like, okay, when I was like 18, I took a harder bong hit than what that CS gas was doing. Like, I've been choked out before by some hits, but it burned and it hurt. And I walked out and I cleared my throat and just kind of like did a quick like spit on the ground and emptied the taste out of my mouth. This one poor girl comes out just like shrieking and crying. Her face is all slobbery. There's like snot and tears just pouring out. And just, you can't hear like anything that's coming through. The garbled noises coming out of her mouth as she's having this like just horrible moment. And I'm just like, yeah, oh god, like, yeah, that was pretty dry. That was pretty rough stuff. All right. It got into people's heads a lot more. My battle buddy was a big dude. So in basic training, they pair you off. And it's kind of like accountability. It's one of those, you don't want to screw your friend over by you getting in trouble, and you will both get in trouble. If you do something dumb, your battle buddy was supposed to be keeping account of you, also gets in trouble, and kind of kind of keeps that down. Some people got screwed by theirs, but this is big. Like when you think of like Wisconsin corn eating dudes, massive, like I guess Midwestern. I don't know. This dude gets a CS canister thrown at him by one of the drill sergeants. He's sitting down eating, and we're on one of the training exercises. And this is just a canister of CS gas. Yeah, it's the same stuff. It burns a little bit, but when you're outside, it's not nearly as bad as an enclosed, room that's been holding the stuff in. My man doesn't even like look. He just freaks, stands up, goes to run in the opposite direction, but he was eating next to a tree and just straight clotheslines himself. And now he's laid on the ground getting CS gassed. And we're all just sitting back, like, from this, like, great vantage point, like, watching it all go down. Like, this is good stuff. This is that high-speed training that the government's paying for. Yeah, number one rule in your CS gas, just don't panic. It's gonna burn. Just deal with it. It's gonna burn and it'll end eventually. There for a while, before we even deployed, I found it was one of the tattoo parlors and one of the friends from headquarters. I found raves as a really good outlet. I always went clean. I didn't do recreational drugs in the military, like, other than some cannabis while we were deployed, because like you're gonna die anyway. I don't regret any of that, but like I knew there were guys that would just be like, oh, they're not gonna drug test us for another week, so I'm gonna do this now or whatever. Like, dude, it's like I valued my career and that choice way more than some drugs just for fun. But the actual, dancing for the entire night till 6 a.m. just venting some of the bullshit I was dealing with at Bragg too. Like, I had some issues with some of my chain of command. Just, it was real specific stuff, and it wasn't like me an authority issue. It was like that person was a total piece of shit, and they shouldn't have been anywhere near the military to begin with. But man, I gotta stay off these assholes taking up mind space. Yeah. Don't let negative people ruin your minds. They're filling space to be taken up with better stuff. I don't even want to mention that dude's name. Yeah, brain blanking again. Oh yeah, the raves. So, I lived in on-post housing. I think we're probably divorced by then. We didn't tell the military. We stayed friends. Like, the day we got a divorce, we were best friends. Just no accountability to one another. Just had children together and wanted what was best for them, whatever we could do at the time. Like, we knew we had already screwed up for ourselves. We were beyond that. But I would go, like, Friday nights, pick up a couple guys at the barracks, and we would go out, find a party, and I would scour for, like, the week before to see, like, what DJs were spinning, like, where in North Carolina, like, how far we'd have to drive. One night, this was on, like, South Carolina, North Carolina border, like, 3 hours to the west of Fort Bragg, random middle of nowhere club. I went up to the unit, and I'm just walking into the hallways, and I get a couple of guys, if they saw me, like, oh hell yeah, like, this is their ride to go do something crazy to get out of here. Because I was always down. I would just go, like, let's go find something, kill some time. And this one night, like, because the diversity of our units, and like, these are your boys. This isn't like you've got family even that you're not super close to. These guys, even if you don't know them, if they're in your unit, like, you're ready to give up your life for them. Like, they're your boys. even though we're all dressed in totally different attire. Like, I've got some of my, like, looser rave stuff on. I picked up one of the guys. He's more like little white b-boy style, but straight up, like, he'd throw a piece of cardboard down and dance, kind of b-boy style. Had a little Hispanic guy. I gotta get it right. Puerto Rican. My man hooked me up one night. Didn't kick me out of the barracks. And then we had another guy, and none of us. So the other guy, he's this country, like, sling blade sounding. He was like the greatest guy. He's kind of dumb. He was a really great guy. He was just he was not there all the way. Like, something not totally there in the brain. He had a really gruff voice. Like, this guy got screwed when it came to the genetic lottery. This man had the deep sling blade voice. Like, it would be scary to hear this dude coming up behind you in the night. Just him just trying to talk and be cool. It was real gravelly, kind of like Tom Waits, but like after eating a bowl of gravel. This man, and like everything that just could have, other than the fact you're a soldier and like, yeah, girls will jump onto that military benefit card, I guess. He was dealing with like the leftover high school acne kind of thing. Just he was not gonna go pick up a chick at the bar really easily. So this man goes up to this girl and sits down at the bar, and his opening line is one of the greatest I've ever heard. And we told him never use it again. Just like, hey, I don't want to hurt you. I just want to talk to you. Just like, this is the moment you just like fall on the ground like, no, dude, no, just stop. You can't. No. Like, that will never work on a human being unless maybe they want to go die. I don't know. Like, dude, you cannot just go up to a girl and be like, I don't want to hurt you. I just want to talk to you. So we brought him along too. And this rave, like, I think one of the guys might have been flying a little bit that night. I was exhausted when we went to leave the next morning. I would dance all night with strangers I meet, everything. There was some rave kids that also traveled to see different DJs, and a couple of the guys in my unit would also follow specific DJs and stuff, and we would cross over. You'd see like a few regular faces, and that made it really cool. It's like these parties that nobody talks about, and just, yeah, this night of just letting go, like 100%. Just once you get out there and start letting go, just let it all out. And I think one of the guys had been drinking, but this guy, he's like, I'm good to drive back. I'm good. And I'm like, man, we're all like ready to pass out. And this dude, says he's good. I think he might have had a few drinks or something that night, but he wasn't really dancing. He was just kind of chilling with everyone. And we're like, all right, dude, all you have to do to get us back, we follow this road east until you get to like some specific state road. And it was like a real specific number. We were like, all right, dude, this is all you have to do. For 1 hour, drive east. When you get to this road, go like turn left, go north, and then within an hour and a half, we should be back at Bragg, and like, it'd be good. We'll be back by like 7:30, 8 in the morning. And this is, I think, it might have been a Sunday morning if it was a Saturday night party. It's Friday or Saturday, so it's weekend or whatever. It's not super urgent we get back, but we're exhausted and we still need to sleep for a day before we have formation the next morning. So I'm in the back seat of my car. This dude is driving, and we've just given him this, like, all right, just get us home, please, man. Like, you've got the energy still. He was totally, like, wanting to do it. And I remember when I woke up, I had a jacket over my head, and I hear the guy in the front seat, the b-boy, he's like, why are there cotton fields everywhere? Like, why do the signs all say SC on them? What the hell? What's going on? Where are we? And my man turned right instead of left and kept going for like another hour and a half. And yeah, by this point we were like 4 or 5 hours away from Bragg. He just started driving us down into South Carolina and never paid attention to a single sign. Didn't bother to go like none of this show looks like anything we've seen before. It's just cotton fields. And then it starts raining. One of my windshield wipers, for whatever reason, ends up breaking, so we had to pull over anyway. Just like, man, we're in the wrong state. We're like 5 hours away now with a broken windshield wiper. We can't drive because it's raining so hard. The night before, we got one of those, like, they would do DUI checkpoints a lot, especially around the military base, and they must have seen some weird shit, but when you stop the car, like, you're probably not expecting to see 4 different, like, ethnicities dressed in totally different ways, all just, like, hanging and bullshitting together. It probably looked like we were going to some convention or something. Oh, we're all going to Alcoholics Anonymous together. Oh, man. It's also really hard to filter, like, what stories are okay to talk about. And then trying not to mention names. Like, I'm going to talk to Doc and my mechanic and just, like, it's nothing, but I just know some people. I don't really give a damn half the time, but watching out for other people, that's all it is. Oh. Doc ended up seeing the one fairly attractive girl, like, on our compound. It's really funny because this man, he's not like your big buff like GI. This is like a little shit stirrer like me. He was a Florida boy as well, and she was a real chill girl. She ended up going into the CIA, and whatever she was doing there, like, we couldn't take pictures of her and all that. I got in contact. We talked a little bit after, like, years later, and then just broke contact again. Whatever she's doing, she can keep her secret of life. I don't want to deal with any of that shit. That we had some good times. Like, I think she realized how we took it, like, we took our roles and our jobs seriously, but we did not take anything, like, seriously over there because it is what it is. And somehow when we ended up chilling in the AO, before they even started seeing one another, it was her music collection. She had a Less Than Jake CD. And I was like, man, these are Gainesville guys. Like, I remember, like, the first Less Than Jake show I saw, it was at a college, and there wasn't even enough people there to, like, crowd surf. The last one I saw, I had to sneak into with my friend because it was, like, pre-sold out. I was a lackey, so technically, if I'd have just got a hold of the guys, they could have got me in, like, letters from the band, stuff like that. Way back when, you could sign up and they'd send you like 50 tapes, and I handed out tapes. I plastered my high school with Less Than Jake stickers. Like, I was a Less Than Jake lackey, like a true ass fan, and I watched them grow, and then seeing, like, you know, they went on to do like world tour stuff way later. But I see this Less Than Jake CD, and I was like, oh hell yeah, like, it's Florida music. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm a Florida girl. And the three of us were like, I know maybe some states don't, but if you're raised in Florida, you are weird. And the reason you get Florida man stories and stuff, like, this is like the Australia of the United States. I saw the internet lose their mind when somebody posts, I think it was a 15-foot alligator on a golf course. And yeah, that's a monster alligator. It's nothing. It's like way nothing out of the ordinary. That's just a big ass alligator crossing the golf course, and you have people who are just like determined, like, that's fake, that's a CGI alligator. Like, no dude, like, shit exists in real life outside of your known little bubble of the world. Like, just because you haven't seen one, you grow up with that shit. I got bit by an otter, a wild baby otter, as a kid. I didn't even tell my dad about that one. It's probably a good thing. I don't know. Maybe they don't have rabies. I just hope. But I don't think I contracted anything, or it went away. It was me and my stepbrother out in the middle of nowhere, 10 acres, like real middle of nowhere. We looked out the window one day and we hear rustling in the woods, and we're like, what the hell is that? That's like a weasel or something. Still no idea what this thing is. And it was a juvenile otter, so it was like 3 foot long. It didn't look like a cute little baby otter, and it didn't look like a full grown, slow, like river looking otter. And we're just kind of like following it up the hill at first, like tracking this little baby otter, seeing where it's going over. The neighbor's dick dog comes over and just starts trying to fight it, and like it's barking at it, getting its face. And I just think, like, I don't even know what this thing is. This weasel rat. And I jump to like push the dog out of the way, and it leaps. I don't know if it was like avoiding the dog or what, but it leaps and latches onto my shin, like just chomps in. And they've got 4 predominant teeth. I don't know if they get more, or this one only had 4 predominant teeth that made incisions into my leg where it bit in. And I'm just like kicking my leg wildly, holding this dog back, and this otter flies off. Found that it was an otter after, because then it ran and just went straight into the neighbor's like little gross pond area. I was like, oh, it's a water weasel. That's an otter. Now it makes sense seeing it swim around in the water where it's supposed to be and not on my leg. Yeah, that's your average Florida day eaten by wildlife. I've seen so many little snakes, coral snakes. We had pygmy rattlers. I think we have eastern diamondbacks. But then there's like just hundreds of non-venomous snakes in Florida. So yeah, you'll see snakes in Florida, and spiders and scorpions. And it's like, being a kid, I just remember my dad's lessons are like, if you pick up a piece of wood, like wear gloves, there's going to be scorpions underneath it. And he just pick up a random piece of wood and show me, and like, yep, there's a scorpion. Like, okay, so yeah, outside wants to kill you still in Florida. Yeah, especially where we were. Had a bike chain fall off when I was 11 or 12, and I'm just like coasting, about to drop my foot down on the ground. And then I look down, and there's a little pygmy rattler just coiled up, waiting right where my foot was about to land. So I did this like hurtling myself off and over this snake on the ground. And they're not aggressive. He was just chilling out in the sun, but average Florida. I think, we had tornadoes, sinkholes. And when I was living in Central Florida, a half-mile down the road one night, a sinkhole opens up and sucks in one of the like main buildings at the end of Main Street. Just like, you hear stories like a dude was chilling in his trailer with, I think he had a roommate or something, and then like one half the trailer got just swallowed into a sinkhole. It's like knowing that any day, like, the ground is also just not real either. We're on top of this flat water bed that's being drained. I did a couple other states. Just first grade, stayed with my mom in Maine, and her husband, like some Navy, I think it was Brunswick naval base or something. Ended up busting my head open, nearly dying on some ice. My teacher called me an accident waiting to happen. And then I went like straight back to my dad's. Like, we did some kind of shifting around, and I just went straight back to my dad's. This was before the stepbrother. Once I had a stepbrother introduced, that was good childhood times there. I was supposedly the bad influence. I was blamed as the bad influence, but this kid, man. Before I met this kid, I was into like dinosaurs, science, space, nerdy shit. I just gotten beat up a lot, probably. He got me into like the whole military everything. We played G.I. Joes. Oh, come on. Influenced the hell out of me, but yeah, I was pegged as the bad influence there. Definitely instigated a lot of shit, but back home in the motor pool, we had a little can of, it was like rubber cement, and we found out you could light it on fire and it would just do this little like slow burn, like a little Molotov cocktail, and we would light it on fire with like 4 or 5 of us and just throw it back and forth like hot potato, but it was like actual burning potato. And one of the guys walks in as we're playing this, like toss the flaming can of burning rubber cement. We like toss it to him, like thinking, oh, you're part of the game now. And he's just like, hey guys, what the hell? And throws his hands up, and it just like splatters burning rubber cement all over his BDUs. So we then jump over and start whipping him with like our towels and stuff, like putting him out. Just regular motor pool shit. We blew up a canteen one time, overdid the MRE bombs, where you take the heater of an MRE, and then you just like completely seal it when it heats, and it'll eventually explode. Or you can sprinkle it into the little Tabasco container and make kind of like a miniature CS just to irritate people, fuck with them bomb. But we put a bunch of them into a plastic, like your standard canteen, and then we threw it into our little like motor pool closet. It was solid brick closet. It's where we do all of our dumb shit. And watch that canteen just expand into like a balloon shape. And they were like, oh hell no, shut the door. And it made a noise so loud that the DOD guys on the other side of the building, this is like 2 houses distance, like other side of the motor bay, jumped because of like the pop that came out when that canteen exploded. My unit, we did some shady shit too. So in the military, I guess the term they told me was a lateral transfer, lateral parts transfer. They had me stay after one day. My boss is like, yeah, we got to get this truck up and running. We need this this specific, like, it was probably a control box or something. The truck will not start without this thing working. And he's like, all right, so that unit leaves at 5 o'clock. He's like, I need you to go over into their gate, hold this clipboard, go to one of those trucks and pull this part off and bring it over. We need to put it on our truck and get it running. I was like, man, their mechanic's going to be pissed tomorrow when they just find this shit missing off of their truck. But yeah, we were that kind of a unit. The shadiest for no damn reason kind of units. I watched the sergeant one time stop me in the motor pool. I'm just like walking by, and he's rooting around in some Connex. He's like, hey. He's like, see this whole thing of chocolate milk? And I look, I was like, what the hell? And it's like this non-expiring, kind of like long shelf life chocolate milk sitting out in this hot-ass Connex. And I'm like, ew, like, what the hell? Why is it even out here? He's like, hey, man, you think they'd notice if this chocolate milk was gone? I was like, man, I don't know. If you want to drink that milk, I mean, I guess you're just putting government stuff in another government thing. I know, the whole rank thing in the military, like, you respect the rank for the time served, especially jobs that require effort. Like, I know Chief, he had a high rank. We respected the hell out of him because he earned all that. Some of those gun bunnies, man, they just, so you haven't quit the army yet, you can still sign your name, you haven't gone home and shot up a club, so I guess you're next in line for promotion. Like, I think that's how a lot of them got to where they were. Some of just less than quality leadership. But it made for a wild unit, and I'm pretty sure, like, it was like a magnet unit. Like, these guys are less than hopeful. Let's send them over there. Just get rid of them for a couple of years. and they wanted to show that they could piss the farthest. It's one of the coldest days back at Bragg. Every single unit that we passed that's out running that day, full, like, top to bottom, hat, gloves, long sleeves, the top and bottom long sleeves. We get out in formation and they want to show everybody how hard we are, so everybody stripped down. We're all running, like, short sleeves, shorts, no beanies, no gloves, nothing. We're out there just, you can see, like, steam coming off people. It's so damn cold. And, oh, man, that was, I absolutely hate the cold. I know one of my first nights in Afghanistan set, I think for the rest of my life, hatred of the cold. I think I might have hit, like, hypothermia outside of water that night. I don't know if it was in the negatives or what. My first night there, I wasn't prepared. They had only sent me and, like, 4 or 5 other guys on a Ford. Like, we were the early group, and I've got my summer DCUs, so this real thin material, and I've got my Whoopee, this little thin blanket, because they're, oh, just pack like a bug out bag, and we're bringing all your gear up in, like, the next day or two anyway, so it'll be cool. And that night I was hugged so close to that little, like, stove thing. Like, it was like my skin was singeing on one side, and then my back was just freezing and convulsing. Like, really don't like that. Just so damn cold. And it was for like an hour or two. I just hugged the stove like I'm gonna die if I leave this stove. I don't know where I can go to find anything warmer right now in the middle of the night in this compound we don't even know yet. The DFAC was only slightly warmer than freezing. And knowing all of my warm gear is like a half a day's ride north. Yeah, I had plenty of time to think about how much I hated the cold that night. I went on to do, like, frozen food for a while after, and it wasn't even close to that. That night was so damn cold. Yeah, my Florida lungs never did the cold well. We'd do those 4-mile runs, and in the winter I would always fall back, and they would get on to me like, oh, you've been slacking, you're not doing PT, you're getting out of shape. Nah, it's my lungs. Like, I can't breathe this cold North Carolina winter air. I was like, wait till summer hits. Summer would hit, and it's like the same as the Florida humidity. It was like breathing in a wet blanket, like stuffing your mouth full of hot, wet blanket and just breathing in. But my lungs were so just, that's home to me. That's breathing in the liquid Florida humidity air. And I just pick it up, man. I can run in that all day. I'm like, it feels comfortable. You got dudes just literally passing out, falling out to the side. And you get that, oh, you've been working out, haven't you? Like, you're running better. You're faster now. Like, no, I can breathe. It's like what I've been saying, like, for the past 2 years. Let it warm up. The New World? Had one asthma attack in AIT. The Army didn't know I had asthma. They still don't know I had asthma. I fell out hard, and oh, it was scary as hell. I could breathe in, and every time I'd try to breathe out, it was like a one-way valve just stopping, and it felt like my chest was going to explode. And I just kind of like took a knee, and the whole unit was running ahead of me, and one of the, like, the guys that hang back to catch the stragglers, he's like, come on, come on, come on. And I was like, no, and I was like showing him like, no, this is a real medical emergency, but I was also like, don't, just chill, like, give me a minute, let me suck it up and catch my breath. And that was scary as shit, because when you can breathe in, like, and then not breathe out because your lungs just go, nope. And then you try to breathe in again, you can breathe in a little more, but now your lungs are full. You're just like, I'm going to pass out any minute. And then probably would have been fine. I'm sure your body regulates, but that exercise-induced asthma. I was so scared of getting kicked out of the Army for any stupid reason. I saw people that wanted to go in and they would nitpick, and they already had, like, my eyesight knocked me off my first job choice. I never messed around with them trying it. And then, you know, when it was time to get out, they're like, oh no, let's hang out for another 6 months extra because our bad planning. God, it sucks. It felt like you felt guilty for still enjoying time over there deployed, because it's like, I got kids, I should be back home. Like, none of this is actually right, any of the situation, but God, it's like there is no freedom like just wartime soldier. Even though there's no freedom over there, you have no personal freedoms. There's a different kind of a freedom, like tapping into that brutal, basic ass Homo sapien instincts. When we landed, I started documenting a little bit of it. I gotta find some writing that I had, because just to pass some time, like satire, I started doing like a National Geographic living with the gun bunnies, because these dudes were like, would do some straight up ape shit, like come in their territories, and they'd pretty much all but piss on each other's things to mark their territory. Like, some of these dudes, they are animals. And I just start writing down these like observations for the day, and then I got Doc in on it too, and he was doing like his medical evaluation on the groups. Oh man, those guys. Formation. So in a regular unit, I don't know, like, it's time to go home in the military. In a regular co-ed unit, I'm guessing like it's still the 5 p.m. everybody lines up, you get in your squads, they debrief you for the day or the weekend or whatever. In my unit, it's because it was all dudes, and they're all just wound up, they have nothing to do. If they're not out there shooting their big guns, they just sweep the line all day. Like, they sweep their gun line. It's a big concrete, like, parking lot. Or they just send them inside, like, go play video games in your barracks and fight with each other or whatever. So end of the day became Fight Club. Like, it's like 30 of us just waiting for something to happen or to go home, so we would just start like fighting rings. It was just like a brawling pit, kind of like mosh pit level, but like I've seen some dudes get straight lifted like over the head and body slam down onto the ground, like knock the wind out of them kind of stuff. And this is just your everyday, like, all right, ready to go home, everybody, let's wind it down. Everybody beat the hell out of one another a little bit, just roughhouse. I remember I was just shadow boxing with one of the sergeants one day, and just like, we were just messing around. He was one of my boys, and accidentally like tapped him in, like, I guess the breadbasket, just kind of like light. The dude like dropped to the ground, like it just clipped him in the wrong way. I felt terrible because I was like, man, I wasn't even trying to hit you, dude. We were just like messing around. Now you're dropped to the ground. I'm over here like assaulting an NCO. Oh man. And the guy, it was like a pecking order too. Like, they had some weak artillery guys, and they would definitely take the brunt end of shit. You have the ones who would talk shit all the time. They would also take a lot of the heat, because you talk a bunch, you're gonna get it back. But this one dude, as it was like his last field training exercise, he was one of the little guys. They ended up like taking 550 cord and tying him to the hood of a Humvee. We're just out there in the field, and this dude's just getting like drawn on and shit, and he's like full on strapped down, tied down to the hood of this Humvee. Can't go anywhere. He's out there for like an hour, just getting like shit drawn on him. Oh, this is the same unit. When we went to JRTC, we got to spend like an extra day or two out there because they were looking for det cord. 500 feet of... There's a few things that if it's signed for, you absolutely have to have it before you can like go back home. It's like that high priority stuff. Explosion stuff. Det cord, it's like the wiring between an explosive, and it's also like it's an explosive. So we're out in the middle of Fort Polk, in the middle of this training. We're all like hot as hell. That was a bad training. This stuff happened. There was some casualties and just playing war. But before we could go home, they're like, well, we're missing 500 foot of det cord, or 50 foot of det cord. Like, where's this spool at? They've got us like dumping our bags out, and all of us are like, what the hell, would we do with it? Who in this unit, like, one of these guys knows how to do something with some det cord. Like, what are they going to do with it? And we're like, nobody has it. Clearly, yeah, it was left back at Bragg. They found it in a Connex still there. Like, it never even made it to Fort Polk, but it was somehow counted in the original inspections. So for like an absolute 2 days of just hot for no reason, all the guys were, if they smoked, they were out of cigarettes. And then those dudes start getting real shitty. The ones that were like really addicted to smoking go without cigarettes for a day or two. But then to find out, like, it was just some dumbass didn't count it right to begin with. Like, we were there for no reason. The reason was not really a reason anyway. Oh man, that high-speed training at Fort Polk. Got to see wild horses. That was cool as hell, because it was a whole pack of them, and the way we were set up in one of our like positions or whatever for a couple of days, this whole pack of wild horses was just chilling out in this field, and nobody was coming from that direction because it would have spooked them. And I guess they're like a problem. They've got so many wild horses there that it's just like vermin or something considered. But it was cool for us. We saw some crazy shit. You're hooked up to this gear that would record shots. So you've got the ability to fire blanks from your weapon. It makes the pop. It gives you a recoil, but it's got this red like silencer thing screwed to the end of it. So you know that the gun is also in training mode. It's still your standard M16. You just screw this thing in, you pop out one of the, I think the firing mechanism or something, and it just becomes a toy gun then. But it would have these little laser things, and you had all these little reactive catching sensors, I guess. So you know if you got hit. And at this one point, these dudes came over, and I think it was smaller than a Schnook, but had an open backdoor helicopter, and they had like the machine gunner turret up there. Like, they flew in low over us, and they're just like firing this machine gun down at us, and you hear a couple of the guys' things popping off, like their little sensors just beep, you get that flat line. And that was some high speed. That was some fun ass training, other than the fact Fort Polk sucked. Oh, that place is so horrible. Just, like, the bugs in Florida are bad. The bugs in Louisiana are like on some steroids and performance enhancing shit. We had a dude who just thought he could outdo the heat. Like, that was one I took real serious. Your heat, just water intake and heat and all that. Knowing Florida will fuck you up if you don't respect heat stroke and heat exhaustion. And this dude's middle of Fort Polk, we're out there training, digging a fighting position, and we're like, all right, dude, just go slow. Like, we got all day to dig this little stupid hole. Like, there's no race. And he's like, I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna go hard. And he's digging as hard as he can. he's just shoveling, like, dude, you gotta slow down. Like, this is hot as shit out here. Like, we're dripping sweat. Our BDUs are completely soaked through. Like, it looks like we've all gone swimming. And this man just digging as fast as he can and then just face plants it, like, straight into the ground. Oh, man's down. All right. So, the smoke that... He was like the authoritarian figure. This is like a big, scary dude. This dude, you just wanted to avoid being in this man's presence. He comes over and he's like, get a medic. He's like, get a thermometer. This man's out. Like, you need to get an IV. He's like, and get a rectal thermometer. We're like, oh, hell no. He's like, drop this man's pants. This man's passed out. Smoke gets a rectal thermometer in front of all of us, just standing around this dude with his pants down, passed out on the ground. He's like, anybody else passes out, you're getting a thermometer in your ass too. And they ended up like life flighting him out. He was fine afterwards. We had a lot of injuries for a training exercise out there, but some freak shit. Like a howitzer rolled behind one of the big trucks that trip. There was no casualties from that howitzer. There was some broken bones and rolling up on that accident, like hearing it over the radio and then coming around the corner to see an LMTV, like a big military truck that pulls a gun that's as big as the truck, and the gun had caught the road wrong. It was like a soft corner or soft shoulder, and then just like corkscrewed off the road and pulled the truck and rolled the truck with it. But the trucks are soft top, and there's dudes sitting in the back of the truck, so it's like rolling off, snatches the truck, and just flung dudes while this thousands of pounds truck is rolling around. And when we roll up, the truck is upside down, and you see the howitzer upside down on the side of it. And it's like, holy shit, like, there's no way anybody even survived that in the back. But all of them got, like, thrown out, just flung from the vehicle. Samoan dude, he just sort of, like, hit the ground and rolled. I think they kind of sat back in the barracks for most of the training. I think one guy broke his arm, but we did better than some other people that trip. Oh, damn, it's 2 in the morning. Insomnia. I'm pulling a lot of guard shifts. Like, I think, and a lot of it was I was a mechanic in an artillery unit, and they didn't see my job as, like, me doing a job. They just counted me in as one of their bodies to do, like, radio watch, and then guard tower watch, and other shit on top of, like, I'm supposed to be in my maintenance bay right now because I'm your mechanic. Like, the only mechanic at some points. And I just remember spending so many nights up in that guard tower, like, the image of the moon and, like, one of the specific stars up in the sky overlooking Gardez, like, where we were. It was a great vantage point. Just chill long nights. It wasn't all bad. And loose leaf tea. It didn't even matter if, like, you didn't like the dude you were stuck on guard shift with. If one of you brought, like, the tea kettle and some of that loose leaf black tea they sold, you had a good night. We had a man, I don't know if he just snapped or what. The dude, he was one of your regular dudes back home, and maybe it was like combat hit him. Maybe he wanted to get out and go home. I didn't get to talk to him after, and he ended up going home, I think, after a while. I think they just kind of like chaptered him out. But so during one of these piss stops on the side of the road, middle of nowhere, Afghanistan, all the dudes get out and line up to take their piss. This man just decides, like, he can't take it anymore, and it's ready. It's just time to try to bust the nut on the side of the road. And he just whips it out and starts just going to town. It's like someone was like, what the fuck? What the fuck are you doing? And then, like, it made it, like, oh man, it got out quick. The fact that we heard about it at another PRT, like, you know, 10, 12 hours down the road within like a couple hours of the event happening. And that wasn't even like, people just slowly started breaking over there. The clothing in our AO, like the common area of our tent, when we first got there, everybody's kind of like respecting boundaries. Everybody is pretty much dressed in public, mostly, you know, like your shirt, your pants. You rarely got changed anyway, unless it was just a change into another pair of shitty outfit to get dirty. But by the end of deployment, we're just sitting around and like, sometimes like just our pants or our boxers. Like, we had an earthquake one night and one of the guys runs out in his like boxers and in his whole Kevlar getup. So like he's protected here and here. He's got nothing but his boxers on during the middle of an earthquake, running around like, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? So I actually slept through that earthquake. I thought the medic was just messing with me. I thought Doc had his bed being right across. We'd constantly never let one another sleep. I thought he had come over and just started like shaking the hell out of my bed, like just slamming the shit out of my cot. And I'm shaking around like, stop, you bastard. And I just like burrowed back in and went back to sleep. Like, I'm just gonna ignore it. And then the next day, like, dude, that was an earthquake. I was like, oh damn, like, that wasn't you like fucking with my bed. But yeah, other people didn't handle that earthquake super great. It wasn't even a really big earthquake, and the fact that nothing there could be destroyed, because there's nothing to be destroyed. PRT was fun. That earthquake in Afghanistan. We had, in the dining facility, we actually had a decent sized TV. I think it was like the only, might have been the only real like TV on our little whatever the hell you call it, Kalot base. And we would just take turns sometimes running in with our random illegally burned copies of CDs and random, like, we watched everything from like Disney movies. We'd have Family Guy, I know, Lawrence of Arabia. And I took in like this weird mix. It was like dance club hits and stuff, like MTV videos one night, and we had this like bullshit rave. We were in there like snapping chem lights, like the little military glow sticks, and there's just like a handful of us dancing like Britney Spears and some other shit. That was before the medic was dating this girl, but she walked in on that, and I think she was pretty entertained by Doc's dancing. You couldn't take shit serious over there. Not too seriously. It's hard to maintain that, like, living 100% of the time over here, like that, the way it just forces you to over there. But I know there was a scene in Fight Club where it was one of the most impacting for me, because I related just with Afghanistan, and it was the scene where he drags the dude out, holds a gun to his head, and sees like, oh, you wanted to be a veterinarian, like, why are you doing this? And he's like, if I find you in like however much time, whatever, and you're not a veterinarian, I'm coming after you. And like, you lived like the second you're alive, when shit's blowing up around you, like, you find ways to live and appreciate, to find dumb shit to do to pass time. We watched the hell out of Braveheart. We could quote Braveheart. Like, my wife thought I was exaggerating at the level we could quote Braveheart. And Doc came and visited me, and we put that on that night just to show her. And it wasn't even like where we were quoting lines. We were quoting the sound effects before they would happen. We had the full like scenes and everything, because we just watched it so often, and would do that, like, walk up the middle of nowhere, like, you dropped your rock, and you just have to start into a whole damn scene uh, for no damn reason. I don't even know if we had any other movies to that extent. It's like the Braveheart quotes. That first season of Family Guy. Oh yeah. So the old barracks, when I first got to my unit, um, the old barracks. This was like 4 guys to a room. You'd have this super long hallway, and it felt like an insane asylum up there. Like the lights are flickering. There's that weird buzzing. This is an ancient building at Fort Bragg, and it was like these big open rooms that like 4 guys would share and kind of quadrant off. Each one got a quarter of the room. They'd do their own thing or whatever. So each one had a different vibe. But they also still had the military, like, standards. Like, you couldn't even have a stamp loose out in the room. If you had an inspection and a stamp is out, that's considered money. It's like money laying out, and that's like a huge no-no in your barracks and AOs and stuff. But this one, I guess it was a Saturday, these 2 guys, these dudes were special. These guys were like special ed. First sergeant is giving a tour in the barracks. There's some new recruit just showed up, and this is totally not normal. Like, first sergeant shouldn't even be like on post like that weekend or whatever, but these 2 dudes had gone and gotten a kiddie pool, like a big plastic, what are they, like 6 foot wide by half a foot deep, like kiddie pool, brought it into their room. Their who the hell is inviting me to your group right now? There's only one bathroom in this whole big ass hallway with, like, you know, however many dudes live in there. There's one like middle of the hallway bathroom. So they go into this bathroom with cups one at a time. They're filling cups of water, and they fill this kiddie pool in their room. As first sergeant's coming through and giving this tour of the barracks to this new guy, he walks into this room with these 2 guys in their shorts with mixed drinks in a full-ass kiddie pool of water, watching like SpongeBob or something. And he just, like, our first sergeant was a big, just meathead kind of dude. He's like, what the fuck? What the fuck, crazies? Why is there a pool in here? So yeah, one of my first rules added in while I was in the unit was no kiddie pools in the barracks. Like, you always have a rule with, like, somebody did it before. So yeah, no kiddie pools in the barracks. Not allowed to have swimming pools in the public rooms. Only got to use my acetylene torch one time while I was deployed for, like, its intended purpose, but I burned the hell out of that thing. I don't even know, like, there was no reason to give me, a mechanic who wasn't even, like, welding certified, an acetylene torch, but they ended up wanting into a Connex one day. I guess somebody lost the key, and they just had me get in because I had the torch. I made a new keyhole. Looks like baby stirring. I'm gonna finish this dude off and then cut this strain. I need to write down a more clear train of thought or something. Get myself a bullet list. I will space out. I will let my mind wander off. And then if I try and avoid talking about certain places in my mind and it gets stuck there, it is so damn hard to just move out of that and get into the better places. it's a it's a waste of life to hang out in those dark spots. Like, it's good to talk about them and get them out, but if you start dwelling in that shit, it'll eat at you. Um, you have to address it. You have to, like, address it, figure out what's going on, what's wrong, and then after you've fixed something or moved on, don't linger. Don't let it continue to eat at you, because that's all it's going to do. Oh, that was the wrong way to go. You only have from now until the second that you die left. No matter what you're doing. Like, I'm not saying, God, go out and do something amazing with your life. I'm saying, like, you've got that time. If you're doing some bullshit, like, enjoy that bullshit to the fullest extent. Like, be actively doing that bullshit. Be actively grinding. I wanted to do this stupid grind because this is the grindiest thing that's out on the market right now, supposedly, from all the complaints I'm seeing. But it's the time sink. Like, enjoy it. Do a grind that's different than somebody else. I'm doing one that's definitely unpopular right now, simply because it's unpopular. Next year I'm getting back into burpees, and I'm going to try and document it. Now, I'm a Twitch noob, but I'm going to try and get a camera set up, and just, it's going to be just probably raw and ugly and terrible sounding. But 2020, I did 50,000 burpees. I started out, it was going to be 5,000. And I accidentally did 50,000 burpees, just kept extending a goal. And I'll tell you, when you do 50,000 burpees in a year, like, you kill off some weak parts of yourself. You, like, reshape whole entire parts of your brain. But I'm gonna try and do structured differently. I did 200 a day at the end, like every day, just 200 a day. And if I had taken breaks in between or done like 400 on, one off, 400, like something like that, I probably would have benefited a lot more, other than just it was an endurance test. But this time I'm going to try and document all of it. And I've got a whole entire, like, the background of why I started it, why I want to do it again. I already know I can do it, so that makes it a hell of a lot easier. I'm not really looking forward to knowing that, like, at some point one of these stream things is going to eat an entire count, but all I've got left documentation is calendar that I marked and, like, conversations I had with some friends every single day. But this time I'm going to just have it to show myself, and then it'll be 100,000 for me. Pick something that everybody hates doing, figure out why they don't want to do it. And if it's just laziness or scared, or that's probably a good reason to go try it. Oh yeah, my boy that hooked me up. One of those nights that I was just having a really bad night at home kind of thing. I had to escape to the barracks. Somebody, I might have even been dudes on CQ, somebody just pulled me in for the night, like, alright, you're hanging out with me tonight, we're drinking, like, if you're up here, it must be bad at the house for you, kind of a thing. And they bring me into the barracks, we're up there just drinking, hanging out, and, like, they are getting me hammered. At some point, we stole the CQ desk, like, slid it into somebody's room, and just, for no reason other than to just, like, let's change stuff up, let's cause some drama. And then we were just doing, like, random hallway stuff. You'd random hallway battle royale kind of thing with everybody coming through, drunken weekend parties passing through. And at some point, his roommate was also one of my boys who was out partying that night, the guy from Puerto Rico. And I know this because he has a giant Puerto Rican flag on his wall right underneath the radio. And their rooms are tiny, little, like, 8 foot by 8 foot cube. Not even 8 foot, I don't think. They felt small, like a cell. And at some point he was out partying with his crowd or something. I just see a bed and like a door open and a bed, and in my drunken like tired state I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go, like, that looks really soft, I'm gonna lay my head down on that for like a second. And I don't even know whose room it was. I just saw this like really comfortable looking bed. I'm like, oh hell yeah. And the next thing I know, I'm like waking up what I can only imagine is a cell in some other country, because all I know is I'm in this tiny little room I've never been in. The doors are, it's like sealed room. There's a giant Puerto Rican flag on the wall, and I have no idea where I'm at. Like absolutely no idea. Just I know I'm in a small room and there's a Puerto Rican flag on the wall, and that's it. And then I start like getting up and I walk out. I'm like, where the hell am I? I'm like, I'm in the barracks. And the friend's out there and he's like, man, he's like, I came back and you were passed out on the bed. So I went and crashed on so-and-so's floor. I was just like, oh man, that's cool. He's like, yeah man, you were crashed hard. I didn't want to wake you up. It's like, man, I was scared as hell. Thought I got like arrested in some other country or something. I gotta go back to standing. Sitting's not right. Alright, I'm gonna cut this stream. I'm crashing out anyway. I've gotta get my stories lined up in better formation fights. I'm gonna throw this number up again. I'm gonna talk to my vet rep and try and get something a little better. But if you ever go into the VA and they give you that card, just stick it in your wallet, hold on to it. You never know what you're gonna run into. Someone's, if you need to talk to someone. Pick up a phone, talk to your friends, talk to family. Get started. If you're not a vet and you're dealing with stuff, man, just start talking to somebody. Jump on and talk to me. I've dealt with stuff prior to military, and then they just stacked on to the big pile of bullshit. But here we are, just keep on going. Alright, man. I hope everyone's take care. Alright.